Hi everybody, welcome to this chapter of the Bookish Club for Leaders. This month we are looking at Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. And we use this book, which was their original book, which does a lot of case studies, and this book, which followed a few years later, which is their workbook version, where clearly they were asked of, this all sounds lovely, what do we do with it? How do we apply it? What does that look like? How does that come to life? So I had remembered Ikigai as the neat diagram, the tidy answer, the corporate version of meaning and purpose with a nifty little Venn diagram. The tidy version of us asks us to identify 4 things. 1, what you love doing. 2, what you are good at. 3, what the world needs. And 4, what you can be paid for. I've somewhat smugly used it with teams of leaders as an alternative to a more modern, a more culturally inclusive, a more cool, a more human build on other purpose-finding models, such as Jim Collins's hedgehog concept and Simon Sinek's golden circle. The challenge I found on my rereading and digging a little deeper was that I learned how overly westernized we've made this concept. We've made it about profit and productivity. Once again, we lay it at the feet of the individual to be better, do better, and be more. This links back to our discussions in previous chapters of the Bookish Club for Leaders, where we looked at the gaps between systems versus individuals in the culture map, atomic habits, and the coaching habit. We lay this responsibility at the feet of the individual. We make it a them, not us problem. And we miss any opportunity to change our systems and change our culture to be more sustainable and more scalable for all. Aristotle is quoted in the book. He says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Today's session is designed to explore the truism that we are what we pay attention to. How often is our attention swallowed by the noise of urgency, causing a feeling of constant firefighting and a rush? How often is it that we're not paying attention to what we pay attention to, which dilutes our decision-making, slows down our progress, and duplicates effort? This causes confusion, fatigue, and overwhelm. How often are our priorities established by what is celebrated, what is protected, and what we make time for? This results in a do what I do, not what I say sort of colleague experience. What struck me about this book this time round, along with the quite pointy end of some of the arguments against this westernized interpretation, is that Ikigai, in its true Japanese sense, looks for meaning in the smaller everydayness and the everyday being of being human. Another Ikigai researcher, Ken Moji, puts it that Japanese people have a great knack for finding the small joys in the most mundane of moments. And that's where I'd like us to start today. Thinking back over the last week, I'd like you to share a word or two about one small joy that you've observed in your more mundane moments. The example I thought about is that I had an indoor plant in my bathroom die on me. I'd repotted something else and saved it, and that plastic pot fitted exactly into my nice ceramic pot that the old plant had come out of. And that made me smile. I put quite a lot of time and effort into making both the older plant and the new plant live and thrive, and one worked and one didn't, but I'm really pleased that I could swap one out for the other. What I'm seeing in my practice right now are leaders and people and teams stuck in the weeds, overloaded, trying to hold on to tactical detail and lofty ambition at the same time, with no proper sky ladder between the two. When in a constant state of busyness, everything starts to look equally important. It isn't. Some of it matters, and some of it is just noise. The useful Ikigai question here is not, what is my life purpose? But it is, what am I paying attention to? Why? And what is that doing to my judgment? So I'd love to open that question out to our group with a question of, what are you saying yes to out of habit, politics, guilt, or noise, rather than purposeful judgment? What is taking up too much of your attention right now? And what has that pushed to the edges so you just can't get to it? For me, I have a weekly recurring meeting that no longer works for me. The timing interrupts my peak focus time, and being on a Monday makes it feel like my week has stalled before it's even started. It's worked well for quite some time, but I'm saying yes to it now out of habit and to avoid the sticky conversation. I'm not sure what I'd rather do, so I'm choosing to say nothing at all. Dr. Miko Kamiya, in her 1966 book about Ikigai, it's been around for a while, identified 7 needs that, when met, allow Ikigai can to be felt. The 7 needs she identified are the need for a life worth living, well-being, the need for change and growth, the need for future orientation and movement towards something, the need for resonance and a feeling that one's existence matters to others, the need for freedom, the need for self-actualization, and the need for meaning and value. Ikigai is possible without necessarily being successful in your professional life. These 7 needs are internal, existential needs, not career milestones. But as we know, purpose, starting with why, and a sense of progress all help to connect colleagues to the work that they're doing, each other, and the organizational mission. So some of these 7 can and must be felt at work too. Which of these have you frequently observed in your colleagues at work? For me, mine is number 2, the need for change and growth. I work in change and transformation, in leadership and learning and development, and that is always something that I have been attracted to. So it's the thing that I need to grab my attention, to keep me interested, to keep my momentum and motivation. What have you seen? What feels most important to you? Second question, which of these 7 needs would you like to see more of in your colleagues at work? And oftentimes it's the same side of the same coin. We look at the need for change and growth and how closely that links to the need for a future orientation and movement. What does that look like? How does that work? So for mine, the one that I would like to see more of at work is the need for resonance, feeling like one's existence matters to others. I am a people person. That is where I work. That's how I've always been. So I need to feel like you care that I'm in the room or not. How do we help create that sense of connection, that sense of belonging, that psychological safety that makes us feel like it matters if we show up on any given day or not? Thinking about the importance of feeling connected to our purpose rather than just performing the moves, I'd like to open the discussion with each other for ideas on what have you seen working and how to strengthen this connection. How can you tell if your colleagues genuinely feel connected to the purpose of their work, or are they simply performing? To spark stronger conversations to purpose and meaning, which of Dr. Kamiya's 7 needs would you recommend leaders do more of? Dr. Kamiya argued that the purpose performed from duty or custom is not real Ikigai. That's why we need to get clear on the reality of people feeling or simply doing the moves. People watch what leaders reward. They notice what gets protected and what gets sacrificed. If there is no room for thought, craft, humanity, or a bit of spark, then the culture will stutter and dull. So the question becomes, what are we making more possible here by the way in which we lead? A question I quite enjoy asking teams of leaders is, if an alien looked down on your teams and only saw what your leaders reward, protect, and make time for, what would they understand matters most right now? This is why Ikigai links so naturally with culture change. Culture is built through repeated choices, repeated permissions, and repeated refusals. If culture change is going to stick, it has to connect with what gives people energy, not just what the organization says it values. We are what we pay attention to. In my own practice, using the structure offered by Ikigai has created value because it helps leaders to move out of binary thinking. It gets us back to nuance, and with nuance comes better judgment, better boundaries, and fewer decisions that fall apart because everyone was a bit quick to jump into action thanks to a sense of urgency. So here's my challenge for you for the week ahead. Say no to one thing that drains energy without adding meaning, and say yes to one thing that brings spark, clarity, or connection. Let that be your experiment. And as you try it, keep this question in mind. What becomes possible for your team when your attention is guided by intention rather than urgency? We'll leave it there for today, but I really hope you'll join us next time. These conversations get richer when we return with lived examples and not just ideas. And I'd love to hear what your experiment reveals. If you'd like to have a chat with me further about this, I'd love to have that conversation and we can jump on a quick phone call, so please just let me know. Next month, we're reading Amy Edmondson's The Fearless Organisation. This is a concept that coined psychological safety, which for any of you who have worked with me know that that is one of my absolute foundational concepts that we explore and talk about and bring to life. And shamefully, I've not read her book. I have read some research, I've read other things, but it is time to read her book and pull that out for as much richness as I can get. So I promise that I'll read the book so you don't have to, and I'd love to see you next time. See you then on Thursday, the 18th of June. We will see you then. Thank you very much.